Broc Glover here for the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Track Walk. We're in beautiful Valley of the Sun, Glendale, Arizona, and I'm here with the Team Solitaire Heartbeat Hot Sauce team. Ryan Clark, team manager, is going to be our co-host today. And you got your two riders, Cole Thompson and Dominic Turi, and two foreign riders. That's pretty cool that you have it. You got a gentleman from Canada, we got a rider from Germany here. So tell us about the Team Solitaire program.
It's honestly, it's kind of been a passion project since 2017 or 2016 really is kind of when the idea started to bring it back. And what it's all about is just kind of giving guys a platform to get to that A-team level. So we recognize we're right below, the factory level as far as equipment and funding, but we really focus on the things we can control, just trying to build a really good motorcycle and get capable riders on it. And see what happens. In these last couple of years, we've had some really good successes, and I think we're just going to continue to build on that until eventually we want to claw our way up to that factory level.
Well, Ryan, I invited you to be the co-host for a couple of reasons. For one, many riders, older people remember your career. You were like a regular, you were the featured rider, it seemed like, with Racer X. They always like to talk to you about you. But I looked back in the record books, and you rode 265 thereabouts, 265 AMA Pro motocross and supercross races for a long time. 17 different seasons you raced.
Yeah, it was a long career, and it started out a little rocky. I turned pro in '96, right when I graduated high school, and just kind of set out on the road and did it all on my own. Honestly, the first 2 years were just out of a F-150 with a camper shell and a fiberglass trailer. And it was super fun, and I actually had some pretty good success, but I had no idea what I was doing, right? I mean, I was just winging it. I had the wrong gearing on, in Supercross. It was a struggle. Eventually I started getting some support, and by '98 I was on Kawasaki Mexico team, riding East Coast, and had some good rides. And thinking back, I had a heat race where I kept Carmichael really honest, and that was probably like the last time I ever saw him within eye shot on a track, But 99 was really the turning point for me. I was back on my own, and I ended up 6th in the West Coast Series with 4th place finish at Dallas and some other great rides. And that year really was influential in teaching me, I needed to learn how to set the bike up. I needed to seek some different people from going to the old mainstay people that, because motocross is a tight-knit group. And if you're not tied in from the factory level from the time you turn pro, it's tough to claw your way into it. I knew I was going to have to do it a different way, and that's sort of the premise of the Team Solitaire program, bringing on companies like Heartbeat Hot Sauce that help us get that funding that we can, start clawing our way to that factory level and just doing it a different way. We love to have fun. So
I love it. The word solitaire, Team Solitaire, where did it come from? Where did you come up with that name?
So that was originally my column in Racer X. Okay. You mentioned I wrote for Davey for many, many years, and they were always a huge supporter of my program, both when I was on my own and when we started Team Solitaire. And it also kind of came from a strung out song, so a punk rock song back in the day. I don't know if you remember the Motor Triple X series and all those cool things. So Jordan is the drummer, Jordan Burns from Strung Out, back in the day. So it just was kind of a natural thing. It's like a group of people that were kind of on their own and pooled their resources and came together. So that was the premise.
So let's talk about some resources. You are from this area, right here in Phoenix, Arizona. So you moved here when you were 2 years old. You've lived here your entire life. It's not really the racing capital of the world, but people realize that there were Trans AMAs and AMA Nationals held here in Phoenix. I remember there was Canyon Raceway back in the 70s, and then it went on. But the first Supercross here, 1986 at Sun Devil Stadium where Arizona State plays. Ricky Johnson won that, and it took almost 9 years, or 9 different races before we had a repeat winner. For some reason, Phoenix, over those years at Sun Devil Stadium, and then they went to Chase Field where the Arizona Diamondbacks play. It took 9 different races until Carmichael was our first repeat winner. We had riders from Ezra Lusk and Jeremy McGrath and David Villeman. You mentioned him earlier, just when we were talking outside, that you had some great races in your day with him. But it was interesting that it took so long to get it. But let's talk about this track here. This is a gigantic stadium. This State Farm is just wonderful, huge track. 2,400 feet long. It's 2,440, I think, to be exact. That puts it almost in the Daytona length, where you're talking at 2,800 feet. So this is the largest so far that we've had of any Supercross. And you can look down the start right here, and let's head down and we'll check it out. So your riders right now, you've got Cole, you're in 9th place, I believe, in the championship right now in the 250. And Dominic, you had an injury right after San Diego or something. You missed a couple of rounds.
I didn't miss it, but I crashed in San Diego.
Okay.
And, well, actually, I crashed quite a lot this year, which is not really common for me. So with the crashes, I kind of lost my confidence a little bit, and I'm just trying to build it up step by step. So Seattle was a step in the right direction, but yeah, still a little bit away from where I wanted to be.
Okay. So those of you, I know we're on 2 microphones. Unfortunately, we don't have a stick mic for Dominic. Catch a little accent there, from Germany originally, but came over chasing his Supercross dream. So not your typical, typical rider coming over foreign like at Ken Roczen. Was Ken Roczen a big influence on you?
We grew up together. Like we spent every weekend together until he went to World Championship, and I still stayed at the European and national level. And then we kind of went our own way, and then he left to America, and then
Very good. So it's fun hearing the stories of riders like yourself. And Cole grew up in Canada racing the Canadian Nationals. I've watched him for many years, and so you get a chance here, and Ryan Clark from Team Solitaire comes along and he gives you the opportunity. So as we're heading down this start right here, Ryan, what do you see other than a nice long start that by the time we get to the hole shot mark over there is 440 feet long? So it is a gigantic, long start, and this dirt was actually, normally they have to have the dirt outside and then they prep it with water before they bring it in. Talking to the Dirtworks crew, they didn't have to add any water this year to bring it in because we've had so much moisture in the whole Southwest. The whole West has just been, as we've all seen on the news. So it was great for them to be able to bring in the water and to have the dirt stay together, and then they could put water on it once it's inside here. The monster trucks are next week. So this week they didn't have the luxury of it packing down, but we didn't need it packing down, to be honest. This is going to get blue groove. Even in press day yesterday, we started seeing some blue grooves. And so what do you guys do? Do you set up your bike any differently or anything for that setup, or the track getting hard like this?
Not necessarily. We'll make a few suspension changes from yesterday to today, but we really rely heavily on Dunlop to let us know that we're on the right tire. Other than that, it's the guys just relying on their throttle control, when the track does kind of go away. But yeah, like you said, it's just been a crazy winter and start to spring this year with as much moisture, and it's going to make it for some great racing, and hopefully a little ruddier than we would normally get here, which I think definitely plays into Cole's strengths. So I think he wants some ruts. Okay. But with the Triple Crown and the short races, it's going to be all about this start, I think.
Well, you talked about that. We have a Triple Crown format. We have Supercross Futures. And we did see 3 of the Supercross Future riders just at the very last session of their practice yesterday. They were able to break the 1-minute barrier. We had 3 riders do 59 seconds and change. So we know that the lap times from previous Triple Crown in Arlington, that the 250 SX top qualifier, I think that one was Hunter Lawrence. He was about 3.3 seconds quicker than the fastest Futures rider. So we can guess that our top riders are going to run right around the 56, 57 minute mark. 450s, boy, there's some long lanes in this track right here as we come out of this first corner right here. The 450 guys might break a little quicker than that, but that's roughly, the lap times we're going to see. And with the shorter format main events, not nearly as many lappers. So I think it's going to be exciting racing. And as a fan, I love the Triple Crown, but as a racer, I understand why they're not as much excited about racing the Triple Crown format. So
yeah, it will make it a little bit nicer though, having a little longer lap times. I think it won't seem like they're doing quite so many laps. Even that extra lap, that last extra lap at the end, it gets I'm sure the guys are ready to see that white flag.
So Cole, very long start.
Yeah.
Do you like longer starts or shorter starts? Last week I had Justin Hill as one of my co-hosts, and Justin said I actually like the shorter starts better. Do you like the longer ones?
I think it depends. I feel like the longer starts, you can actually get through the first corner a little bit less chaos. It has time for people to kind of separate, especially going into a rhythm section like this. Honestly, my starts haven't been great this year, so it's something that I set out for this weekend to be as you know, as close to the top 5 or inside that top 5, especially with the shorter main events. It's very crucial to get out front. In the opening laps, it separates, you know, not by a couple tenths, but by multiple seconds. So getting off the gate is one of the goals I have this weekend. For this start, it looks pretty good. I think it's going to come from the outside, to be honest with you. Last year it was a split start down the middle. This year it's all one gate again, and I think it's going to be coming from outside the box.
Okay. All right, so coming out of this corner right here, Abel, if you turn the camera, you can see they made a little larger knob on the inside right here to try to set people on different rhythms. Noel here coming out a little lower, so this would just be probably a wheel tap or off here and then onto the table that you can see all the riders off in the distance. You know, some guys will probably set it up a little wider, hit the taller one where Ryan's standing right there and go right up onto the table there. And we'll see, you know, from the press days, yesterday's press day, we got to see some of the riders ride part of the track. And we did see the Futures riders ride all of it. But again, Futures riders are on 250s. The 450s are a little bit, have a lot more punch. And this is a little bit slippery, so we have to be careful here as we're walking the track here.
Yeah,
so,
it's good to see some different options through here. Actually, yesterday Cole and Nick rode press, and they were on a little bit different rhythm, and it seemed to sort of at the end almost even out.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is. It's good racing, and then if it does rut up, as you mentioned, just getting a little bit softer. They have thrown quite a bit of water on the track here. You know, if it does rut up in the face, and that allows you the option to get off rhythm from the other riders, huh? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go down the edge here because my feet already feel like I've got monster boots on. Okay. This stuff is sticking to our shoes. All right. So coming off this section here.
It's muddy. Yeah, definitely got some water down today.
I know, they definitely put some water down in that section there. Looks like it's a little lighter up here. These guys know the dirt. They know what they've been working with all week long. And see, nice track walk shoes. You got the hot ticket there. Got the mud slippers.
Yeah, Broc, I don't know if you're the same as me, but when I see the tracks when they're prepped like this, I'm like, oh, you know, that would be fun to take a lap on. And then I walk it after the main event, and I'm like, couldn't pay me enough to take a lap around it.
There's a section over there that I'll talk about when we get over there. And I paced it off yesterday because it just looked incredible. And the 450 guys they were doing some pretty amazing stuff. So again, just a pretty basic onto the table, couple of double, triple. What were you guys doing in there in this section here?
For me, I was going on-off on the outside there, and then 3-3 into the corner.
Okay.
Some of the guys I've seen lining up going way wide, setting yourself up to go up the inside and go 3 on off. It just leaves yourself vulnerable being out that far. But it just depends how it races. You know, like when you're trying to obviously today get yourself a good gate pick for the qualifying, it might be faster to go way outside and jump on and off. For the race, it might change. So it's just having both the rhythms down, and that's kind of like a little bit of the advantage of doing press day, to be honest with you, is having both.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it would be comfortable when you go to put your head on that pillow, that you already know what the track feels like, you already know what the traction feels like. I mean, there were guys yesterday over at the Dunlop truck looking, you know, hey, it's getting really, really hard pack already. And they were already talking about the future riders were even over there talking to our Dunlop crew and asking Brian if there was any way that they thought, is there something they could do to get a little more traction, because the track got drier and drier. It was something. So coming through here, yesterday press day, they just had you going off straight, but we were able to easily watch the Futures riders because they rode the whole track. Coming out of this Dunlop 180 bowl here, this was kind of a really basic, simple. Now this one, I mean, I know, Ryan, you'd feel comfortable doing it. I probably feel comfortable doing it. They were just coming up here onto the table and then just hitting the throttle pretty hard, trying to use any sort of bump or any sort of imperfection to get a little bit of lift onto the other tabletop. So you have a single table, and then off of another single, and then into a triple there. So this was, to me, one of the more basic designs of the track that I didn't see any riders having trouble with it. How's that?
Yeah, these are tricky sections, these table to table. You know, it's where it really kind of shows if you have your bike set up and your suspension has that pop. But kind of to go back to a quick story, I remember in 2005 at Dallas Supercross, I had just switched to a 450. I had been riding a 252 stroke up to that point. It was my first race on the 450. I decided to switch mid-season because I was, you know, getting my butt handed to me at the beginning. And at Dallas, in the main event, we're rolling around on the parade lap, and there was an on-off section right out of the start, single, table, single, similar to this, but a little peakier and taller. And only Reed, Ricky, and maybe David Villeman were doing it. And I noticed on the parade lap, on the far left side up against the hay bale, someone had done their own little construction work and had made themselves a lip right next to the far left. So first lap, I come around, roll the inside on the first turn, get way over. I end up coming out like third or fourth. I hit that thing every lap. And I think that was my first top 10 of that season.
Wow.
And it's crazy that like one little thing I always try to tell the guys, like one little part of the track, like you get the whoop jump line down, or you have a rhythm that you're off rhythm, and it just makes the rest of the track come to you so much easier because you're so eager looking forward to that one section where you know you're going to make a pass or you're going to put some time on people.
No question that it makes a big difference like that. And if you have a section that you're struggling with and how that section seems to dominate your mind and you're focusing so hard. In the old days when we weren't sure if things were going to be doubles or triples or what, when there was a jump you hadn't jumped and another rider had jumped it, it always just messed with your mind. You're thinking, oh, I got to jump that triple, I got to jump that triple. And by the time you really focus only on one little part of the track, you ended up not doing the rest of the track as well. So that being said, yeah, it's nice to have a little, like you said, a little trump card in your pocket and you can play it when you need. So. Base normal triple here. Got your no-brainer.
Yeah, and this is where the guys need to start throwing whips. You know, that was the one thing I've been talking to them about. Last year, our riders threw more whips and knack-knacks than what we got this year, and so I want to get back to that same level of, you know, having a little more fun on the track.
So your team manager is telling you to do more sideways clips, whips, knack-knacks, anything like that?
Yeah, you know, we have a mantra for the weekend. It's not try harder, it's try softer.
Okay.
Just let it come to you, right? When you overthink it and you're trying too hard, I think people perform at their best when they're having fun and they're in the moment, so.
All right, this is the separator right here. You can just tell that come around the corner right here, your rider's a little bit more focused in their eyes. This is like, okay, this is where it comes together. I got that section down, but right here, this is the whoop. So big run of them right here, and I don't know. I mean, what do you guys look at when you come into these whoops? And what's your focus? What are you trying to think about here?
I mean, when they're fresh, you just look for which side is more even. Like you kneel down a little bit to see if it's like completely straight or if one whoop is like a little lower than the other one. So you might switch to the other side just to have it even. And then, yeah, I mean, once it gets ruddy, it's just like, or cupped out, you just look for somewhere where it's less cupped out, and
sorry, Nick.
Yeah. What about you, Cole?
I'd say, to be honest with you, we won't see them this good until night show comes around, and you only see it for a few laps. To be honest with you, when we get out here for our practice, they're already starting to get cupped out and shoot out. So basically, for me, I just try to find the best line I feel comfortable to hammer the throttle. So coming around first lap, try to scope them, and then from there just start hammering them. And this year more than less, I've been able to just try to get through them no matter slow lap, fast lap, just try to keep going through them, whether it's jump them. I avoid going around them because, to be honest with you, you're better off learning to either just double through them, get a feel for a rhythm, than going around them altogether. So this year I've learned that whether you're going fast or slow, it's better to just keep going through them and get familiar.
Yep, and most of the tracks, I mean, they have loader whoops and dozer whoops. Almost all of them have been dozer whoops this year. And again, they're roughly 12 to 14 feet apart spacing. And when you're focused here, they actually, this is a nice looking set of whoops. Nice they did a good job here. They had good dirt and they had plenty of time obviously to build it. The crew, I was talking again to the Dirtworks guys, they looked tired yesterday. I mean, I was the first one to say they were trying to play it down, but they looked a little tired. They'd been doing a lot of long hours. And again, when you're building a track that's 2,500 feet long, as opposed to an 1,800 foot track, it's just that much more work. And so they got a lot of material they're moving around. luckily for the Glendale track here, we have a lot of starting line straightaway. And this is one of the races I always have enjoyed. And I think back at all the fun memories. I know Tomac's won here 3 times. I think Roxon's won in this stadium a couple of times. But I also think back at the win with Blake Baggett. Do you guys remember Blake Baggett winning his, his Supercross here? So that was really cool to see Blake win his Supercross here. And I think back at those days, and I think that was his sole 450 main event win, if I'm not mistaken, in the Supercross. So coming out of these whoops, imagine most of the riders, you already said that you like to blitz them. Are you, Nick, are you more of a jumper or a blitzer?
It kind of depends on the whoop set. In Seattle, for example, I know it was a short set of whoops and I could cut to the inside, so I started jumping them really early and got really comfortable with that, but I don't see these becoming jumpers, so I guess we have to stick with skimming.
What's also kind of cool about these, watching the Futures riders, they looked so much better than we saw what the Futures riders looked in Arlington. Maybe Arlington's whoops were a little bit gnarlier, I don't know, but I feel like, and talking to some of the Future riders yesterday, because I do participate as a kind of a rider coach in that, talking to some of the riders, and I asked them, they had a very rude awakening, and it was almost scary for them at Arlington.
Right.
A lot of them went back and did their homework and did a lot of extra practice in whoops and Supercross, so that when they could come out here, they'd feel more comfortable. And yesterday we did see the riders riding substantially better through the whoops, and coming out of there at such a high rate of speed and just a dog leg at the exit. It's not a 180, it's not a 90. I mean, these guys were getting after it coming out of here and grabbing gears. And so this got real hard packed through here. And as we're heading here, we're going to the old school, you know, over and under. And Shu, what are you doing, man?
I'm just standing here.
the legendary Mark
back into
Shoemaker,
it.
man. That's it. Any of us old school guys know that Mark, he's been out here forever. Mark Shoemaker is a cameraman. And his father was Don Shoemaker. He was a legendary filmmaker, but he was also the main person in charge of all filming it on any Sunday. So the old people that watched on any Sunday, it was Mark's father who did all the shooting on that. So it's pretty cool. If you guys ever know what On Any Sunday was, it was a legendary movie that we all got to watch in the early 70s. So coming through here, over under, yeah, it's pretty basic, but it's a nice right-hander, and we're leading into the final corner right here. And this is where you guys, on your qualifying, are gonna wanna make sure that you're in the top number 18. Other than that, you gotta ride an LCQ. So Triple Crown format, you get all your qualifying done early, and then as long as you're in the top 18 in your times, you don't have to worry about riding that LCQ. And the LCQ happens at a different time. The LCQ happens prior to the opening ceremony.
Correct.
So you really know the fields before the races. Before opening ceremonies, we already know all 22 riders in both main events. So stay out of the LCQs, right? And you know that too, right?
I think that plays a big role. And yesterday, even for press day, you've seen a lot of top guys out here, and I believe that's just to get more track time, get familiar with it, because you're limited in practice. And everybody that comes out today, they want to get the best lap possible to get a better gate pick for the main events.
Yep, you talk about press day.
Yep.
There used to be, so here we are right here. This is kind of a cool view. You come over the finish line, you see the big B red. I always remember watching the Arizona Cardinal games or even the Super Bowl, or you're seeing some of that you go, we know this tunnel. You got C red over here, B red over here. These are the sections. We'll just run around here, go up this face, over the finish. As you're doing your qualifying at this point right here, coming out of that corner, if it's your qualifying, your heater lap, you might be going super inside and not even worrying about jumping the jump so much. But even from the inside, I think you got good enough traction to get over this right here. So, So do you ever do that where you're dive bombing the finish line and just throw it away just to click the timing lights?
There's certain tracks that it becomes a necessity to get a good lap in. You just dart for the line and don't worry about jumping it. And I believe here, I think even from the inside with this size of a face and jump, you're fine. But yeah, to be honest with you, in qualifying, it doesn't matter how you get the lap time, you just got to get the lap in. And then from there, once you're in, then it's a matter of just stringing those laps together consistently.
Yeah, I hear you. It's you talk about qualifying's a whole other art too. And you got to make sure that you're in the top. Make sure you make it into your program. But some of these guys, you see them miss out by 1/10 of a second, and they're home, that's got to be heartbreaking. So.
Yeah, I think like you know, that last section we walked, you know, it's pretty wide open, but that's the section that's really going to kind of make or break. I think that from the start of the whoops through that little dog leg, it's such a high speed section that you can really make up, you know, obviously time through the whoops themselves, but also with how you come out of it and how you kind of carve that next left-hander and right-hander. I mean, it's kind of almost more of an outdoor feel right there.
Yeah.
Where carrying speed, especially on the 250s, you know, in the smaller class, is going to be very important.
Well, you talk about that, Ryan. You do come onto this track here. It has a lot of high speed. Supercross, you get into that rhythm section where you're obstacle to obstacle to obstacle, and then all of a sudden you get to the outdoor season and you start realizing, okay, now we're starting to go really fast, like literally physically going way faster on the motorcycle. But here's a combo of both. So you've got to make sure you have a lot of speed, your cornering speeds up, your straightaway speeds up, because a little bit of exit speed out of a corner can carry all the way down a long straightaway. So it makes a big difference on how fast you're going on a lap time. So coming out of this finish line corner, this is a right-hander after this jump. This little pop right here, this was kind of interesting. You know, the 450s, no problem. Press day, they're coming out of here. No, all the way, triple jump. 250 guys are working a little harder. There's a little bit of a lift and some stretch.
Yeah.
And as it got a little bit of a hook and a rut here, I noticed some of the top future riders that were tripling this, they were doing some mid-air correction because the hook in the face of this little rut was starting to get a little tricky. And I'm glad I never saw anybody go down, but trust me, I saw someone kind of go over pretty sideways, and it wasn't on purpose. It was just correcting before they came over on this pull here.
Yeah, this is another section, you know, it's like you've got to kind of weigh how far outside do you have to go to hit this triple, right? You don't want to, you want to try and do it from the furthest inside spot you can, and it's, you know, really utilizing your rear shock and seat bounce in that thing.
No, a really great point there. Yeah, and Cole was talking about that in the first corner. You don't want to go way outside and become vulnerable to somebody stuffing underneath it just in order to try to get a little bit of a triple combo. You're better off staying a little tighter, doing a little wheel hop up onto the. If you go way outside, cover a lot more distance, you're somebody trying to pass you there. So love it, the old school. You know, the bikes are so fast, they'd have to make this thing so wide that they put a little pre-jump in the beginning of it right there. Can you show that, Abel? Little pre-jump. So the riders are actually taking off mid-jump before you come over here. Otherwise, the guys would be flat landing it every time. So
yeah, this is a cool little section to kind of see a rider puts his own little flair on it, you know, and you can kind of just look at the style going through here. It's pretty cool.
Abel, if you can, turn around and like you see right here, you're coming out of this corner and this is what you see as a rider. This is your point of view. And all of a sudden, all right, now accelerate. There's a little knob on the inside. You know, you probably don't want to go all the way on the outside. And then you're coming into a fairly significant triple. That triple I thought was just kind of basic until I watched some of the you know, it took them a few laps to really timing it correctly and downsiding it right. So it must be a little further, or you know, or the ruts that were developed. There were some ruts in this thing yesterday.
I don't think it's any further. It's just like usually you have a triple out of a corner,
right.
But now you have a really fast section before. So you basically, you don't blip it or anything. You just roll to the takeoff, and that's what
was causing the timing off. Okay,
so
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Different to the other triples.
Yeah, it's tough to regulate your speed when you don't have a turn before, right?
Yeah,
you're used to like, okay, I'm
yeah.
in second and I've got to be, you know, 3/4 throttle, where here you're just
yeah.
rolling into it. And it's super important, like we looked at from the top, to just really minimize your angle coming in here, right? So you're landing as far outside as you can on the tabletop,
right?
And just making a straight line out of it and doing your corrections in the air, right? You're almost doing your bike corrections.
Dominic was saying that it's like, yeah, you're coming into it, you have so much time to hit the triple, and that's where you've got to regulate your speed. If you hit it with too much, you don't want to go flying in the flatland, but then on the other side of the coin, it's like, wait, normally we have to accelerate up a face of a triple or do something. This thing, you got all day long to just modulate the throttle and go from there. But
yeah, the cool thing is,
interesting point.
Since Stuart's not here, you don't have to worry about anybody quadding.
Quadding it, yes, exactly. Exactly there. So this is pretty cool right here, just a basic triple, but okay, this is another place you guys can show off for Ryan, okay? He wants to see you guys do some more exciting things.
Yeah, definitely.
Hometown race for Team Solitaire, we're here. So nice little triple.
How are you?
What were you guys doing yesterday on the?
Triple. That thing, I think they smoothed it out a little bit, but that one had a real, like, it was so notchy that it was like kicking you. And also the transition in between triple and the next triple is really tight, so you really had to time it perfectly. So that's basically dead holes right away is just about timing. Yeah, so after press day, the track crew does come in here and realizes, this thing's pretty pocket. You know, you got a real steep little lip in it. Got to fix that a little bit. Looks like they did. And then mellow it out here. And then you said that that pocket with the landing zone. So you're going triple, and then the pocket had some ruts in it. And so that's the thing that I think the average person doesn't realize, that when you're jumping here 50, 60, 70 feet on these triples, so you have to spot your rut. And when you hit it, you might realize, oh my gosh, I'm coming like 4 or 5 inches off where I want to be. And it's not advantageous at all to hit the face of an edge of a rut. So you got to do body English while you're in the air, like a gymnast spotting their landing. You've got to spot your rut and make sure you do whatever it takes to get your bike centered on that rut that you want to take off. Yeah, so it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, I walk the track often after the Supercross races are over, and I just marvel at how difficult. I mean, Seattle, for instance, the last race we had, that track was treacherous. I mean, I can't imagine having to run a 20-minute main event on that track. So
I think that's one thing Cole really excels at. You know, whenever like at Seattle, as the track got really rutted out and difficult, a lot of the guys in front of him were struggling and sort of coming back toward him, and he's kind of gapping the guys behind him. So
Cole, why are you so good in ruts?
I grew up racing kind of on the East Coast, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Prior to racing in Canada, I raced my first 3 years down here, and I actually finished 6th in the series, 250 West or 250 East, 2013. And a lot of the tracks we raced in 2012, 2013, and 14 was rutted conditions. I believe that was one of the years Indy had ruts from the time you took off the gate till you basically got in a rut and you couldn't get out. And Indy's still like that to this day. And I said I almost foam at the mouth when I see those conditions. Growing up in East Coast surrounding where you're riding tracks that are muddier and rutted, it feels like home to me. And I'm obviously good at arena cross, and a lot of arena crosses you race are rutted conditions, tight transitions, weird stuff that you don't really see out here. You don't get many tracks rutted, so when I got to Seattle, I was like, hey, this is right at home for me. So it was cool to have that.
So we talk about these jumps being 3 5s, right? So the 5 is behind us. You guys were almost all clearing that 5. I didn't see really anybody hitting the face of that 5. So that's what you're after, even on a 250. So now here starts the interesting part that I referenced on the other side of the track, and this part here is pretty crazy. I know they've been modifying it, tweaking on it, because yesterday with the 450s, the left lane was significantly quicker. And why was that? Because from the start right here, Abel, on this camera, this all the way to the last obstacle, I actually paced it off 220 feet. The 450s were touching 2 times. So in 220 feet, they're touching twice. They were basically triple, and then on the face of the next table, we're using that as a launch to quad and then to triple. The transitions there were about 20 to 25 feet. So they were touching 20 to 25 feet once, and then 20 to 25 feet again, and doing 220 feet. So to me, it's just unbelievable.
That's the power of motorcycling.
Yeah, you just think about these things with the fuel injection, the 450, the torque, the power, the suspension, and all of that. The fact they're covering 220 feet and they're touching ground in less than 50. So, you know, you're talking, it's a pretty significant ratio of, they're barely on the ground, maybe 20%, 25% of the time, and they're still covering all the way. If able, you can turn around all the way down to there. Coming out of that little 3-footer, tripling this, and they were landing right here, and landing here, and then launching off table and clearing all the way out to where you can see Kyle Chisholm standing on top. And the part that gets me is when I walked over here to look at it, where Kyle's standing, that next little pocket, it's not like it's nice and lengthy.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight. And it seemed like they were only on the ground a split second and then popping that next triple. So again, it was triple, quad, triple.
And these things are impressive to look at now, but I mean, the top, 5 or 6 guys in the 450 class, being able to do this when it's rutted and square edged at the end of 20 minutes of racing and not make a mistake and not put a wheel wrong, it's just so impressive.
And the 450s, they get the used, spit out, beat up track. By the end of the night, they were at the 6th main event being run on that track, and these guys are having to do it. So I see, look, what do you think over here? You're seeing they modified it enough, because right here, we're able standing with our camera, he's at the pocket of where they hit the next triple. If you do that same rhythm on this side, you're basically landing on top of a table is what they're hoping you're going to be doing, but nobody's really doing it. But you can see Justin Barsha, who was out here yesterday, and you can see you can see Justin's over there looking at the other lane, thinking, man, hopefully this other lane gets a little faster through the night, because the left lane was quicker yesterday. So, what are you thinking? Yeah, got the cut, clean shaven look. Yeah. Good luck today.
Yeah, this will be a big. I think this is going to kind of change throughout the course of the night, as kind of just as the rhythms get a little harder to get consistently. I think there's an option to go 3-3. 3-1 to the inside roll in a rut. But that outside berm is pretty massive, and you can carry an immense amount of speed around it onto the start straightaway. So I think there'll be some options, some good passing. It'll be a good passing line here, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So coming into this, now you've got this split lane, comes together, and here's what you're talking about right here. We talked about cornering speed over on the other section of the track. On the fast tracks, how important that extra mile an hour or two is exiting a corner if it's leading onto a very long straightaway. So here, you come in real tight. What a great place just to block past somebody. Rider up here high, coming down, and next thing you know, he sees a rider coming in inside of him. This guy's totally paying attention to where this rider is. He's trying to move him, block him, push him out, make him go the long, long way while he hugs the inside. But the problem is, this guy's coming in here at 10 miles an hour, and this guy out here is coming at 20, and he's exiting at 20. So it is a disadvantage from taking off of a dead start and trying to go tight, but we'll see what happens. And that's why they did this. They want to see passing.
Yeah, there is definitely going to be some lines crossing there, and I think that is an opportunity to make some passes, but you're going to almost have to get in their way to slow them down if they're on that outside.
Absolutely. There's some history in there right there. You can see Johnny O'Mara talking to Lars Lindstrom, and you guys aren't old enough to remember, but Lars' dad was one of the first Swedish riders that came over to the United States and helped bring motocross here in the early 70s. And Gunnar Lindstrom, I think, won the Daytona before it was an official Supercross in 71 or 72, so it's really cool. So here we are coming back onto the starting line. We're kind of finishing up our track walk here for a full lap, and I mean, what are you thinking of the track? Is it something to your liking?
Yeah, I think I've always had a good time in Phoenix. It's an open concept, and I feel like the track, as hard as it gets, it has its spots where it also gets rutted. So you have a mix of both. You have the ruts, and then you have the clay blue groove stuff. Last year when I raced here, obviously the track was a little different, but it has a good feel to it, a flow that you don't get on most Supercross tracks, and that's riding up a gear higher than you normally would because the track is faster. So I look forward to it. Honestly, I had fun yesterday. I look forward to keeping the momentum going today and just enjoying the day.
Well, Cole, where can people follow you on Instagram? I'm sure you have Instagram. What's your Instagram?
It's Cole Thompson 16. So
Cole Thompson 16.
Cole Thompson 16.
Very good. And Ryan, thank you so much for giving us a little insight on the team. I mean, you guys have been out here for a long time, and you do it just nice, quiet, controlled atmosphere, in my eyes at least. You do what you have a limited budget, and you work within that budget, and you field top quality bikes, and you give these guys a nice platform to maybe hopefully transition up to the top next level. So Heartbeat hot sauce right there on the hat. So if you can find it at your retail outlet, support a company that supports our sport. And Dominic Turry, you know, all the way from Germany, thank you very much, and good luck tonight. And we'll look for the riders. So thank you for tuning in to the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Track Walk. And next week we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully it's not too hot, steamy, and wet, but we'll catch you in a week from now. Okay.